Good evening and welcome to the meeting of Teaching, Learning, and Student Support held today, May 10th, virtually. And I would ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Member Kamara,
Here.
Member Mailman,
Here.
Chair McCullough.
Here. Thank you. And so we have a few items on the agenda tonight. The first one is GB 2-292.2, filed by myself to request that the administration explore offering driver's ed utilizing local driving schools at the high school level. And we'd have some previous information provided by administration regarding this topic before, but we did hold it so that we could get a little bit more information today. And I would ask the administration, I'm not sure Dr. Morse or Ellen Kelly, which one of you will be speaking on this, but just if you want to give a little bit of background on the backup.
I can speak to it.
Thank you.
So we have been investigating, and Chris Kusonis has also been helping, investigating how we can bring driver's ed to our students because it is very, very expensive. The average price is about $750 to $900. We do have a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. We worked with Liz Hamilton, the director of the Girls Club, and we were able to sponsor 5 students. This was a program that was done pre-COVID, and it was successful, but there was a lot of times where students weren't able to show up, so they come for 1 or 2. So I think the program ended because of that. This April vacation was very successful. We had 5 spots and 4 students went and completed the whole program, were there the whole entire time, and the parents were involved and took the parent classes, and they brought that information back to the school. So there's excitement about it. They're going to be sponsoring 5 other students during the summer vacation. And hopefully, I think every time there's a round, they'll provide 5 spots, which is not ideal, but it's a start. High schools do it in their schools, but their cost, like at Wachusett, the cost is expensive and there isn't any deals or half price. Emily Lehman, director of Innovation Pathway, applied for American Rescue Plan Act to subsidize summer driver's education for students, and they haven't received word yet if they've received the funding. Chris Kusonis is also in contact with Ruth Seward from Nightlife, and they do rent space for AAA with driver's education, but there isn't any subsidization at this point, if that's a word, subsidization. But now that we have Chris on board, he's eager to look into this more and see if we can get some opportunities. So the answer is we were able to provide some free opportunities that were very successful. It's just hard finding people that will give us those spots at no cost.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that. I know this was some legwork to get some different information and compare what other districts are doing. And I appreciate that that is what happened here with this backup. As this was my item, I'm happy to just hold this until October, just so we can see what Chris has been able to find out and see if we've gotten anything through that, the ARPA funds for the subsidized driver's ed. But I think it's great that we've already started working on a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. Even if it's 5 spots, it's 5 spots, right? So I mean, it's something that's available to our students, and I appreciate their partnership and that this is being looked into. So I'll then open it up to Vice Chair Mailman and then Member Kamara.
Just a comment that, if we're doing it at Nightlife, we actually are providing it at one of the city schools. And I mean, whether you have to pay or not, I mean, the convenience of having it done at the schools.
That's
right,
a good point. Yes. Yep.
Is worthy of, like, when Chris is checking it out, worthy of thinking about.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Really good.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Member Kamara?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think it's the fact that, because I remember doing driver ed when I was 16 at South High, and that it was like, after school. So I think it was very beneficial, and I don't remember paying for anything. So I think whatever that we can support our students with, even as Chair McCullough mentioned, even if it's a few classes at one of our schools, I think that would be very beneficial.
Thank you. All right, so the motion then would be to hold this until October, if that's something administration, is that timeline work?
Yes, that would be
All right.
great.
Wonderful. So if I could have the clerk call the roll, so we're gonna hold this until October.
Member Kamara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mailman,
Yes,
Chair McCullough.
Yes. So our next item is item CNP 2-8.3, to consider a petition from the PTO at Chandler Magnet School to convert the school to a completely bilingual school. This is something that we have had ongoing conversations actually prior to this item even being filed in 2022, when some parents first approached administration at the time with this conversation. And we now know that La Familia will actually, which is our full dual language school, will be moving over to Chandler Magnet School, and there will be a phasing in of a essentially fully dual language school at Chandler Magnet. And just want to have administration, if there's anything that you want to share about this. But it would seem that I think we're in the direction of that goal being achieved through this merger of the two schools. But I will ask administration and then my colleagues.
Through the chair, yes, exactly. We believe that through the recent developments with the merger of the La Familia School and Chandler Magnet School, that we have ultimately accomplished this goal. And this is an exciting opportunity for the two schools to merge and develop into a really robust dual language and completely bilingual school. So we're excited about this opportunity. We were able to share this good information with the community.
Thank you. Vice Chair Mailman?
no, I think, although not the way we thought it was gonna happen, we're there, so that's good.
Yeah. Member Kamara?
Same comment.
Okay, so then I'd ask, the motion is to file, so I'd ask the clerk to call a roll, please.
Member Kamara,
I'm not sure if we lost.
I think we may have.
Dishes.
Member Kamara,
Thank you. I was about to touch my screen. I think I hit it. Same comment as Sue Millman. Like, it happened. So there it is.
Great. All right, so we're calling the roll now. So clerk, if you could call the roll to file.
Member Kamara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mailman,
Yes,
Chair McCullough.
Yes, and our next item is GB 0-125.1, which is the response of the administration to request the present comprehensive data showing the test scores for all student subgroups since these initiatives started. This data should show changes over the years with particular emphasis upon the WPS student subgroups targeted through SOA funding, Hispanic students, English language learners, and students with disabilities. This item was previously filed by Mr. Foley in April of 2020. And the recommendation of administration and one that I would support is that this should go to Member Johnson's Committee on School and Student Performance, which should be focusing on data for further updates and to put it really more in the context of what is going on now versus what was going on in 2020 to get some more pertinent and relevant data from our, data departments and administration. But I will open that up to Member Vice Chair Mailman and then Member Kamara, or sorry, administration first. I apologize. Administration with any comments and then.
Through the chair, thank you. So we've offered a variety of different opportunities to review data around different initiatives and programs at different levels and different subgroups in the Worcester Public Schools. But we think it's most appropriate that this item is sent to Student Performance Subcommittee so that we're able to provide even more detailed information to the committee as needed and as requested.
Thank you. So, and Member Mailman, I do realize I passed over your item. We will go back to that. So you're up now on this one with any comments?
so just, so I guess the ever going, how did it end up here in the first place? If it was, okay, no clue. Okay. So we're gonna send it. So does somebody have to file a new motion or will this just really get sent over to that committee?
That will go right over to that committee and they can now take that up because I actually believe Member Johnson has some availability on his docket over there. So he can bring this up
Okay.
and have administration work with some new data as well and maybe some other data that they want to share with us that's pertinent around these topics.
No questions then, thank you.
Thank you. Member Kamara?
Yeah, thank you for the chair. So I think if is there a way that the data, once it's brought up, that, I mean, all our stuff goes back to the full committee, but I know that sometimes once we talk about it, it resolves and we just hear about it through the notes. Is there a way, because I would like to make a motion for that data to be given to us, because I would like to see that data once it's piled. So if you suggest I do a motion, I can do a motion, or if that's something like that one to set up, the administration can, put it in their WhatsApp, not WhatsApp, what's happening.
Absolutely. So I think, Member Kamara, to your question, it's a very important question, is that this data should be put in the backup for that subcommittee, but shared with all of us. So I think that's the way to go about it, if that works for you, Member Kamara.
Yes, yeah, share with all of us, put in their backup. Thank you. Mhm.
Absolutely. All right. So then the motion is to send this over to student performance. So if I could ask the clerk to call a roll, please.
Member Kamara,
Yes.
Member Melman,
Yes,
Chair McCullough.
Yes, thank you. So our last item, which I did not mean to skip over, was item GB 2-201.1, Member Mailman, to review the availability of childcare for system educators in various positions and in various geographic parts of the city. One example, high school teachers at Burncoat and lack of early childcare availability in the area, past practices, and basically I think we were looking for opportunities and information. So I will open that up to administration and then to my colleagues.
Yes, hi, through the chair. I know we've discussed this item earlier in the year, and one of the asks of the subcommittee was that we conduct a survey with our staff to gather some information about childcare needs. But I would just want to give you a little bit of background on what we've done since our last meeting. So we have reached out to Seven Hills Foundation, and we asked them if they would be able to provide for us a list of childcare providers in the area and in the community, and by quadrant and by region. And while they said that they wouldn't be able to just give us a blanket list because they have an agreement with the state that prohibits them from organizing and information in that way, they did offer to provide their own individual support to Worcester Public Schools employees. One of the things we're working on our own is employee onboarding support in human resources. So one of the things we'd like to be able to provide is some ideas about childcare if you're new to the area and you will need childcare for when you go to work. So we're working with Dr. Q on providing a really robust, supportive onboarding program, and this is one piece of it. But I wanted to share with you some of the interesting results from the survey that we gave. So interestingly, we had a decent amount of people respond. We had over 400 people respond. And we think that most of the people that responded were interested in providing some feedback to us about childcare. So most of the people that responded were our teachers. And more than half of the people that responded had their own children under the age of 5. 40% of the people that responded said yes, before and after school care would help quite a bit. But very, very interesting number. 59% of the people that responded said they were very interested in district-based childcare. And in some cases, the comments that were provided could be a game changer for my family. The cost of daycare is so high that it's as much as a mortgage. We heard an awful lot about the cost of childcare in our area. So cost was one of the number one things that our people that responded said that they would need some help with. Also, another thing that they brought up was the time available. So a lot of our high schools start at an early tier, and to be able to find daycare or childcare that is open at 7 o'clock or 6:30 in the morning was another deterrent in another area and another challenge. So a few of our people wanted more information about this. Does provide support mean it's free, and would it also be inclusive of students with special needs? So Dr. Q's been working with all of these numbers and currently working on a plan to provide some childcare assistance in the near future. We don't have everything ready to go yet, but we see this as a need and a way to support our educators. These details are being worked out. We're looking at a variety of different options. We're looking at some of our high school students who are graduating that may want to work for us in the future. And we're also looking at space and places. So this is something we're actively pursuing and looking at, as we see that this would be a way to provide even more support for our educators. As we know, childcare does appear to be a challenge, and anything we can do to help, we would be interested in trying to play a role in making Worcester a desirable place to work. So that's the feedback on our childcare inquiry and our current status on our planning.
Thank you. Vice Chair Mailman?
So Molly, I'm gonna guess that you're gonna say that we're gonna file this because we've got, like, where would we go with this? I think,
Frankly, as your item, if you'd like to hold it until we get some more information back from administration, and administration has, a time frame, once they think Dr. Q has gone through some of it, if there's something they want to share back with us, or what administration's recommendation is.
yeah, Marie, member, I almost said member Marie, I think that this is exactly what I was interested in, that, is it a need in the district? Is there something we can do about it? And you're saying, let's find out what we can do about it. And maybe there's not in terms of the cost, that's one thing, but the availability is a massive issue. So, and I am also going to take it upon myself to check other places and understand why list via quadrant can't be given. That is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. So we'll see what other providers have to say, but thanks very much. I think, great. Thank you for the information. Thanks for continuing to work on it. And yeah, let's hold it and get an update in a few months or whatever.
So thinking that we have a meeting in June and then we meet again until September, do you want to do September or October? You tell me.
Yeah, October, whatever,
Okay.
whatever the team thinks. This is, I think it's kind of a big item, so I'm sure it's going to take a little bit of time to gather some resources, and we can work in the background in the meantime.
All right, so we can hold that until October. That will be that motion, but Member Kamara?
I think that this is amazing. I think it will be great, because if you guys can share that data with us, that's wonderful. But I think this idea is wonderful for our educators, and I'm glad that folks are gonna make use of it. So yeah.
Wonderful, and thank you, Member Mailman, for this item. I do think it's important. I think it's something, right, that it's probably fallen to the wayside over the years, and it's an important consideration when we look at our staff and their needs and how we can support them, and if there are different ways where we can even just support them with information and opportunities or actual options, right? So I think that's great. So, Member Kamara?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, you said something that actually had a question that I spotted that came up. So this seems like is more informational, but you mentioned you first earlier, Dr. Morris. So is it like we're thinking about it, maybe not now, but in the future, about this being a part of a benefit that we'll have, or like, it's just a question?
Yes, through the chair. So since Dr. Q has taken over the Human Resources Office, she's really wanted to get a comprehensive understanding of the needs of our educators. And this was one of the first or second things that came across her desk. So she's been working on it and thinking about it and actively pursuing some ideas about how we can operationalize this and get this moving in not so long of a distant future. We're not ready to roll out the plan yet, but she is quite dynamic, as you know, and she she gets things moving and going, and this is something that's very important to her. So we have been collaborating on this, and this is something she has had in previous districts that she worked. So she has an idea of a good model. So she's bringing that forward and actively working through the details and getting stuff in place so that we're able to operationalize this and make it a reality.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. All right, so the motion then is to hold this until October. And again, thank you to administration for the backup tonight. And we have some good things going. And I really appreciate all the work that you're doing and supporting us as a. So I ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Member Kamara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mailman,
Yes.
Chair McCullough,
Yes. And that brings us to the end of our meeting. So I will ask the clerk to call the roll to adjourn.
Member Kamara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Millman,
Yes.
and Chair McCullough.
Yes, thank you all so much. I appreciate it and have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Good night.